Hi guys, so my name's Carl Ellis from the Voice of Healing, and so I just wanted just to address something that I saw on YouTube with some people who were formerly, attendants of GOCC. Now, it breaks my heart when I see other black people trying to pull other black people down, especially when they've done such a work, like their work has really been dedicated in trying to bring people to the awareness of Christ. Now, you know, as far as I'm concerned, black people most black people, let me correct myself, love to turn down and pull down another black person. We're talking from Africa all the way to the United States of America, all the same. They love to bring people down. Remember Marcus Garvey, how they treated him. He was trying to push the black people through and lift them up. They pulled him down. Martin Luther King, same thing. You know, Louis Farrakhan, you had people against him as well. Always trying to pull each other down. And no matter how hard, you try to help, because you think you're helping towards a cause, you always get certain individuals that pull you down. Now, I have no dog in this fight to be able to say, okay, this person is talking false and this person is talking, is lies. But my thing is, if you have an issue with someone, why go onto YouTube? That's my first thing. And try to expose them. What is your intention? What is your intention to do that? Is it to pull them down? Is it to educate other people? So for me, this is a telltale sign already. Have you spoken to the elders? Have you said, okay, you know what? I want to put you to a debate live on YouTube, and we can discuss our problems. We can discuss what I feel you've done wrong. Or are you going to go to a platform where they cannot defend themselves? As I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. But what I do have is an understanding of what GOCC is all about. GOCC, I've known them for at least 15 years. And I remember they used to start off in a hut. It was like a little small place, a little shabby, and, they didn't really know, and they're finding their way around. Now they've built up through the years, hard work. They've put out the academy. They've helped people. They're really doing a work. They're educating. They're doing their work. Never once have I heard them slag off a person, excuse my language. Never once have I heard them, talk about other people, degrade somebody else. As a matter of fact, I used to think that GOCC was pro-black. It turned out that when Gocc received a letter from a lady who was distraught, understanding the word, he said to her, he comforted her. He said, listen, I understand. He says, but, this is not just a faith for the black people. He says he's talking about the vines and the branches, and everyone is included so long as you follow God. And God, in fact, will treat a black person in disdain who he deems to obviously not want to follow the word of God. It doesn't matter color. And from that point, I decided, this guy he's not one of these pro-black people, even though I am pro-black. And I love black people because I'm a black man myself. I never understood, why people come onto channels and just degrade them. There's a few people at the moment who've come on to degrade and try to pull down GOCC. One particular person, as soon as he opened his mouth, I just felt that spirit that this guy was, he could not be reasoned with. He wasn't bringing his case from a reasonable standpoint. He was just like, excuse my language, and then just started back in the hood, swearing and using profanities. And, you could tell by his spirit that he wasn't part of the congregation. You know what I mean? You could tell that he was wanted to be in the world, and just the words he used really put me off. The spirit alone of his vocabulary really put me off and made me think. Hold on, this guy, he's bringing out points, but when I'm hearing him effing and blinded, if I was to go to his church, this is how I see it. Okay, if you become a leader, I go to your church, and you're behaving like this, then there's plenty room for sin, because the dialogue that's coming out, the spirit is coming out, is not controlled, is not disciplined, is not sanitized. It's just blurting out profanities and your points of views and how you feel hurt and how you feel like they stopped you, and hearsay things going on that he can't defend himself. They can't defend themselves. And for me, that's really sad to see another black person, especially a black American, when you guys have gone through so much hell, you know what I mean, in your history, and you're still trying to pull another person down. My advice to you would be, go and speak to the person who's offended you, okay? And ask for a debate, a live debate where we can hear your point of view. And if they say no, then you take it to, I think there's steps in the Bible. I'm not a biblical person at all. I do follow GOCC. I've been following for many, many years. And even like the Royals, I just look at the stuff that they're doing. Their works are showing that they're doing something. Nobody's perfect. And this is where you deal with immature minded people, is when everyone expects you to be perfect. You're preaching the word of God, so you've got to be perfect. No, sinners, prostitutes, and all these ones came to Jesus. It wasn't like a perfect club. Who needs that? It does not exist. And so when you hear that as well, I kind of like, it's a red flag for me. Many things. All I can see is the works that he's doing. Is his teaching false? Is he a false prophet? Now, from what I hear from, Elder Rakar, an elder lawyer, it's nothing to do with them being, false prophets and talking falsities. In fact, the information they give is so poignant and so to the point that you can literally use it as an almanac. It's wonderful. They haven't done me any wrong, although I do remember writing a letter and expressing, the problems that I went through, and I never got a response. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to degrade them and, pull them down publicly. You know what I mean? They may have done, ignored some of my emails, but okay, that's fine. But to go and degrade someone, a man of God, you can tell he's a man of God. Why would he? They were working before money started coming in. They were doing the work. They were on YouTube. They were teaching before the money came in. Why can't they, reap the fruits of their hard labor? Why can't they, be blessed? But, you get some people, particularly, it just seems like these women who, cry after, Hollywood superstars, let them down or ignore them. Then they go to the media and start fabricating stories and things like that, or just exaggerating without actually going to talk to the person. And I think that that's the best thing for all these guys who claim that, there's been a lot of wrong done against them by, GOCC. Another particular guy was talking about how he could feel these spirits of divination, and he was released from smoking weed, and, he had this heavy burden on him, but then there was a woman that came in and, she was quite seductive, and she had the python spirit, and he was just talking bad, but without any kind of facts and any kind of proof. It was just stories upon stories of this is what happened. And I felt, so in evil spirit, a person came back from Africa with, a cloth, and she died, shortly afterwards. But, and she gave it to me, and I could tell that it was a spirit of python. How do you know all these kind of stuff? I mean, how do you know? You having like a marijuana episode, or, I mean? I don't understand how a person could just come out there and just how can I say, debase someone or who've been really worked hard to build up, and and of course you're in a church. The church is comprised of what? People, and people are what? Sinners. Of course you're going to get different places, and even they were talking about GOCC kind of shading this guy because he's a leader or something like this, and of course, okay, fair enough, but you got to debate these things in public. You got to debate them. You can't just make a speculation and say, okay, well, yeah, you're hiding and you're doing this and you're doing that. He is human. He has parts that are not filled. Of course he's going to be like that. Of course we're going to have elements of, where you're going to be let down or you're going to be disappointed. But do you have to go onto a public platform like YouTube and just debates them. I mean, seriously, it's like you black Americans really know a lot more, better than us English people. But I've been following for a long time. They've been doing a lot of work. Even the academy, they do so much, a lot of research that we take for granted. Now, what I would say is, for those who are talking about, how they feel the GOCC is a false prophet and things of that nature, what are you doing? That's my question. What are you doing? Are you doing anything that's going to push the cause? Are you starting any academies? Are you helping to preach? Or are you just purposely coming on to YouTube just to slag another person off who's trying to do the work? And of course, albeit not perfect. So this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm from the Voice of Healing. I'm completely different from, GOCC. I listen to them because I feel that they have amazing information as it pertains to the Bible, as it pertains to prophecy, as it pertains to what's going to happen with people as things start to crumble. Just things like that. I mean, it's like we're not children. We have to realize that these are in fact human beings, and God is going to deal with them. But you should be able to make your own decisions and detract what you don't need, and taking what you do need. And if it's following the word of God, then you look at it in the word of God. But the most important thing I'm trying to get at, I suppose, with all this rambling, is why don't you guys who have a problem with GOCC make a debate? Write an email, screenshot it, show that you've sent it, and then create a debate to all the grievances that you've received. That's what I would say would be the most noble thing to do, instead of coming onto a platform where a person cannot defend themselves and you're gaining people who are hurt also, giving you false promises and a false kind of lifting up kind of thing, elevation. And one of them actually said that, my ego was bruised. Well, that just speaks volumes to me. It's like sometimes if it's the elder, he's not God, of course. But sometimes he will use his discernment and say, listen, you're supposed to go higher. I can see your spirit is humble, whatever. And maybe he's not perfect. Yeah. But why come onto a platform and disgrace them or try to bring them down? That's your motive. Is to come to in hope that they will, dissipate all the years of hard work that this guy's put in. You haven't even taken that into your concept of what you want to bring out. You haven't even thought about that. Hold on a minute. Could I be destroying all that this guy's worked for? Okay, he's not perfect. In that case, because I know and I appreciate a black brother who's trying to do something, let me speak to him publicly so everyone can hear, and then we can debate and we can make our decisions through prayer, who is right and who is wrong. Will you do that? That is my question to you guys. Will you do that? So I'm the Voice of Healing from the UK. I help men's mental health, issues going through paranoia, anxiety, worries, stress, all kinds of stuff. And we work with a lot of men and actors in the UK. And I do follow GOCC, and I came across this few videos. It kind of irritated me a little bit because I thought to myself, black men hardly ever do anything in this world as it pertains to business and building and bringing each other and supporting each other, right? You have a little few, and then you've got other people try to bring them down. So let's try to take a little thought into that. And if you agree, great. If you don't, fine. Have a good day.